Hey guys, what is up? Fake New Records here, back again with another video. Today we're going to be talking about a classic album. Let me grab it right here behind me. How about Black Sabbath, self-titled? This is going to be episode 2 of Metal Masterpieces. Uh, so let's dive straight into this. I mean, we all know this album very, very well. Considered probably be the first metal album of all time. Of course, there's proto-metal before that. And even this, I'd say, is on the edge of proto-metal, having a lot of different influences. But let's start off on the track listing. How about the title track, Black Sabbath? This song shows so much impending doom, so much... it's just impending doom, bleakness, a sense of darkness that I feel like no other band showed at this time. Which is what makes me love this album so much. And I know this album's worn out for a lot of people. Of course, in the last episode, we were talking about an album from my childhood, and that album was a little worn out for me now. But this album, less worn out for me because I was introduced to Black Sabbath at a young age, yes. But my dad wasn't like a diehard Black Sabbath fan. He was a fan. Would listen to a lot of Paranoid, a little bit of Master Reality, a little bit of Volume 4. But not really this album. There wasn't much he listened to on this album, at least from my recollection. Could be wrong, though. But so this album kind of, I listened to it a decent amount. I did love Zach Sabbath. That whole redoing of this album, I love that. But I have to say, personally, not my favorite Black Sabbath record. That'd probably be Volume 4. But I still think this is a masterpiece. And I know it could be debated that, Paranoid's more their masterpiece than this album. But I think this, being the first metal album of all time, I think people still consider this a masterpiece. I think a lot of their albums in their discography are masterpieces. So, let's get to the next song then. I kind of went on a bit of a tangent there. But The Wizard. This song is dope. Very, very unique. I do think, give me 1 second. Let me grab my water. Just getting a little chap in the mouth. I do think this song is very, very unique for doom and like any kind of metal. And this album overall kind of shows like a lot of what different genres of doom would come. You have the faster, more stoner rocky songs. You have the slower, sludgier, sludge sounds, and then you have the epic doom and a lot of the kind of stuff that people would accentuate on in later periods of doom, even still in the modern day. And of course, you have a very big trend within doom metal of like long songs. Of course, you got the next song we're going to be talking about, Wasp, Behind the Wall of Sleep, basically, and NIB, 9:44. That's almost a 10-minute track. That's rare and in this time. Of course, you had Inagata to Vita, which was a big one, at around 15 minutes. But even on here, you got another 14-minute and 15-second song, A Bit of Finger, Sleeping Village, and Warning. That is a great song. Of course, these are multi-part songs, kind of like you'd see nowadays with like Sleep, with their Big Dope Smoker album, also known as Jerusalem. I guess that's the more edited version. How about Mirror Reaper, stuff like that. Really, really kind of setting the standard for what doom would become. And of course, Wasp, Behind the Wall of Sleep, basically NIB. Of course, NIB being probably the biggest part of this whole album. I can't remember the full story of this song, but for some reason it's got that name, and we either know what it is or don't. I honestly can't remember the full story. I'm not a Black Sabbath historian, sadly. But yeah, it's a great song. There's so much, as in like this being the third song on the track, and we're already through like one of their darkest songs, in my opinion, to one of their more like hard rockers, The Wizard, of course, with a bit of like harmonica in there. So I mean, it's like really different. There's almost nothing like it at this time. Of course, like there's aspects of a lot of stuff in here, a lot of blues in here, a lot which would come from like heavy rock later on, and definitely kind of like a I mean it's blues, but it's like a different, like how Iron Butterfly is at this time. You know, they're very like hard rock, almost metal, like the very bottom of metal, what it could be. It's a lot of that, but of course this being a lot darker than that, in my opinion, I think is what makes this what's considered the first metal album. But then you got Wicked World, another great rocker. Definitely doesn't fit with a lot of tracks on this album, in my personal opinion, but it's a good song nonetheless. And then the last one, you have a super long, doomy outro with a bit of finger, Sleeping Village, and Warning. I mean, this album overall, I think it was just a perfect storm, basically, with, you know, Iommi having to play lower tunings because of his fingertips getting chopped off. I mean, you have Ozzy with that haunting voice, which sadly he wouldn't use for too much longer. When he went back to being Ozzy Osbourne solo, at least in my opinion, I think he went for more of a hard rock, heavy metal kind of more upbeat style, and less more dark and creepy like he does on this album. Even the next album, Paranoid, is less, I'd say, doomy than this. This is more doom and gloom, where that's more upbeat. I mean, of course, you have that on, I mean, a couple songs later on and everything, and then they get more experimental, and it's less of that. Still great albums, though. Other than maybe Technical Ecstasy, until Dio joins, that's a little rough. I mean, I do like Gypsy, but that's basically it for those songs, to be honest. A lot of that stuff, not my style. But yeah, this album, I think it's a really, really good start for doom. I'd say 100% it's a masterpiece. I'm honestly I'd rate this a little lower, though, probably a 9.1. Just because the fact that it is a little less metal than you maybe see in a lot of later stuff. But, I mean, I can't blame him for it. It's fucking awesome still. And really set the groundwork for metal in general. And I don't think a lot of these newer bands would be here without Black Sabbath. So, I mean, this album, 100% a masterpiece. I mean, the cover on it's like haunting as well. Of course, show you that there. Of course, creepy album cover. I think they just did so much well. And then, of course, with Vertigo as well. I mean, there's a lot of cool things about the records. But that'll be all for today's video. Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. That was episode 2 of Metal Masterpieces.